Welcome to another Talks at Google event. I'm Cliff. The man of the hour we have here is Brian Kelly, the CEO and founder of thepointsguy.com. Welcome to Google.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. So we have a lot of travel fans in the audience. We're also streaming it live to Google offices worldwide and the folks at home at YouTube. And so had a few questions to go through right now, and then we'll have time for some open audience Q&A as well. So
Awesome.
If there's any burning questions about your points, or if you have a wallet full of credit cards you need audited, just let us know. We'll make that happen.
I actually tried to do a wallet audit at lunch today, so if you want to show me your assortment, I can.
Yeah, we can.
Whip you into shape.
We can make that happen. And of course, Googlers are really passionate about travel. We have that small thing called a Google Flight Search, the ITA Matrix, the hotel bookings. So we're really passionate about that. And in fact, leads me to my first question, which is really about technology. And so it seems that a lot of this game, a lot of the frequent flyer mile program is built on this almost Cold War race of who has the most information and whose computer system is 30 years old to load mistake fares and stuff like that. Like, how do you view the role of technology in the travel industry and also in miles?
Well, I think in general in the travel industry, we're still way behind. I think one of the top questions I always get asked is, I have these amount of miles, where can I go? And there still really is no perfect system that will actually correspond with airline award inventory. The airlines are very protective of that data. With sites like Award Wallet for tracking your miles, they, some airlines even cut off access. So we're actually pretty far behind, I think, in general. But that's where opportunity lies. As you mentioned, mistake fares, deals spread like wildfire, and we have seen in 2016 more crazy deals, $200 to Auckland. And, last year we had the $185 to Abu Dhabi. So it's still a good time to be in this sphere. Yeah.
Do you see a push on the credit card companies, the airlines, to try to catch up on it, or is it just?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely. It's a cat and mouse game. Chase recently instituted if you've had 5 cards within the last 2 years, you can't get some of their products, and they're expanding that. We've seen recently. The game definitely changes, but it's by far from over. I just you have to maybe work a little bit harder. But for those who put time and effort into learning the ways of how to search for availability that others can't see, there's opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost an arbitrage. And,
yes.
And for a lot of folks, just starting out and keeping track of their miles and their points, and they don't really necessarily want to spend too much effort in it, don't want to go nuts. What can you tell them about how to get started, and what are they missing out by not putting their frequent flyer number in on those twice-a-year bookings?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even, a lot of people say, I don't travel that much, so I'm not going to get into this. But it's not even about travel. More miles will be minted this year from non-travel, so credit cards and partner activity, than from actually flying. And especially as airlines now go into revenue, next week, whenever you fly American Airlines, you'll receive miles based on how much you pay, not how far you fly, if you bank to American.
Yes.
There's still more ways than ever to get miles and points. It's really about getting the right credit card. It's really frequent spender programs now. So get the right credit card. The bonuses are as high as ever. So even though there's, airlines are raising the price of awards, sometimes overnight, you can get miles and points all around you for doing everyday things.
Yeah, and as these programs get more homogenized, and like you said, it's almost like a punch card per dollar and everything. Is that a sign of the end times? Like, is there still unique opportunity?
There's definitely still unique opportunities. I just got back I went for 3 nights to Sydney in New Zealand this weekend. I flew Alaska Airlines 70,000 miles and $42, Qantas first class. And I was sitting there, I'm like, $42 out of pocket as I'm laying, and I'm just looking at everyone going to coach, and I'm like, those people probably paid 20 times as much as I did cash out of pocket.
Right.
So the game is still there. Now, the airlines have moved to revenue based on earning. Now, if the airlines ever move to revenue-based redemptions like Southwest and JetBlue, if American Airlines, that will take the glory out of the game, so to speak. I'm sure there'll be other ways to get around it. But right now, I mean, these airlines still have these wonky charts. Half the time, the airline, because of bad technology and because they're working on outdated systems, there's still so many ways to maximize. The fact that you can fly San Diego to Istanbul is the same exact amount of miles as Boston to Dublin makes no sense.
Right.
But I don't think that those changes are going to happen anytime soon. So
cool.
Even if you're new to the game, there's still plenty to
Very nice.
take advantage of as you do yourself.
Well, thank you. I try every little bit. I'm not quite up to TPG territory, but every 1 mile at a time, every step. So I also was curious as well. Like the other news this year is the the sizable decline in price for fares for premium cabins, and so it's gotten to the point there's amazing things on British Airways and flights to Europe. As you were saying, flights to New Zealand. Are we landing on a sort of an equilibrium price? Like the price is right on these fares. Like is that a bad thing when more people are paying versus redemption, or how do you see that balance?
No, I mean I think the first thing is free upgrades are disappearing, and that's indisputable, right? So if you're just getting into the game now and you want to race to get elite status and you're going to expect to get free upgrades all the time, I'd likely set your expectations. Now, elite status, especially at the very highest tiers, is still very valuable. But so I think it's actually a good place where in the past, airlines priced first class and business class so ridiculously and out of touch. 10 times the price of economy for like a little bit of a recliner and crappy food. So now the airlines are actually, I think, pricing is becoming more sane and affordable, and that's great for consumers. So. But that's also why I think people should diversify miles and points. It's not just about airfare. So many people are myopically focused on, let me just get airline miles for the free, but hotels and so other experiences, you should really diversify your miles and points. And that's, I think, one key thing I would like everyone to get away. If you're just getting into this, don't just, I fly United Airlines, I'm going to get United credit card and United. Try to diversify, get transferable points programs. And so that when it comes time to redeem, you've got lots of options.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like with the the big 4 transferable points, it seems that the airlines still have a lot of ways to go to catch up to that. Do you see that continuing? Just keep banking to the cities, the Chase, the Amex.
Yeah, I mean, so the relationship, just so people don't, these are huge profit centers for airlines. Frequent flyer programs are arguably the most effective marketing technique ever created. So American Airlines just signed on with Citi and Barclaycard to issue their cards. So that means more products, so Citi and Barclaycard will be competing against each other for American Airlines credit card business, which is something we've never seen before. Everyone thought they'd just go with one partner. So there's tons and tons of competition in the marketplace. American Express lost JetBlue to Barclaycard. They lost Costco to Citi. So this actually bodes well for consumers. So once again, I think my key point is, even though these are travel programs, it's all about the credit cards. So getting the right credit cards, getting it on huge bonuses, and then beyond that, maximizing every single dollar you spend is the way to win.
Yeah, there's even an app for that with the TPG
to
help you
TPG
figure
to
that
go
out.
on the App Store.
Yes, Android and iOS. So
thanks,
I do what I can. So then also like moving the conversation again towards the infrequent flyers. Like are there 3 basic things that you'd recommend people do just starting out? And of course there's articles on TPG, to that end. But anything that people miss from the get-go?
No, I mean, I think just sign up for frequent flyer programs. But if you're flying American Airlines, you don't have to bank your frequent flyer miles to American Airlines. So if you buy a really cheap ticket on American, you may want to actually bank to British Airways, their partner, which actually can provide amazing value. And once you're redeeming miles, don't assume if I've got British Airways miles, I'm going to redeem on British Airways. That's often the worst redemption. So you have to think counterintuitively. It makes no sense. You'd think, well, why would British Airways make better redemptions on partners? Just stop asking yourself those questions, because logic never works with airlines and hotels. You just take advantage of it. So think outside the box. Like we have over 9,000 blog posts. We're actually going through a major web redesign as we speak, and hopefully this fall we're relaunching and it's going to be much easier. Right now it's funny, I'm like, just go Google the points guy and then put your topic in, and then you'll see all the results. So thank you to the search team for making it so easy to
custom search.
To search our hot mess of a website. But I think that was 2 things. But the third is just think counterintuitively. You all are very smart.
Yeah.
God. Think counterintuitively. This is a fun game that can be won. Yes, it takes a little bit of time, but when you think about this hobby, I think it's amazing that this hobby can actually help you travel more and spend less. And I always sit down and it's like doing a crossword puzzle. Like, how can I get to Abu Dhabi or and it's amazing once you build up miles and points, the freedom that it gives you. The fact that right now I've got so many miles that I can go to SFO and be anywhere in the world in like 16 hours, first class. And that's another thing. Last minute's the best time to use miles. Airlines and their pricing models will open up tons and tons of space, even to Sydney. So if you're flexible and spontaneous, you can get insane amounts of value for miles. Even if you don't want to go to the Maldives, if you ever have a family emergency, miles are like an insurance policy. You're on vacation in Europe, you need to come home last minute. Airlines don't care. Even the bereavement fares are full fare minus like $5, right? So protect yourself with frequent flyer miles and credit card points.
Cool. Yeah, and of course the blog has a very international reach as well. So how do you?
Well, the international reach on the Google map wasn't as much as we'd like it. We actually, so we will be expanding. We're just in the UK. That's our number 2 market, and Canada's number 3. You know, points are universal, and so yes. So you know, those of you watching abroad, the U.S. programs are generally more generous than the foreign frequent flyer programs that have high fuel surcharges. But and I know people always say it's no fair in America. The credit cards are so generous, and so you know, figure out a way to get a Social Security number. No, kidding.
Or Brexit, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just,
But,
cool. Cool. And then at Google, we do a fair share of business travel here. Of course, we do have our video conference system, but nothing truly beats the in-person meetings. And so we're also, you know, a very, very frugal company. You know, we want to be, you know, frugal.
Google frugal?
Yeah. Well,
frugal like Google?
We sunsetted that, but the spirit remains the same. You know, frugal but generous. And so, you know, what sort of advice do you have for business travelers that want to maintain a sense of price consciousness, but at the same time want to, you know, build status, like incorporate, you know, something that benefits their personal travel and their business travel? What's the business strategy?
I think, you know, understanding, maintaining costs is important for every cost center, right? As a business owner myself, I, you know, make my employees fly in middle seats in the back of the plane. Just kidding. I'm actually very nice. I actually used to take their points from them, but then I'm like, that's really mean. No, I let them, actually, it's funny, when we go out to lunch, I'll be like, people will overhear us. I'm like, okay, you win. You get to pay for lunch today. And people, like the waitresses will always be like, that's so mean of you. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like they're getting points and I'm paying them anyway.
Yeah, 5x.
But so loyalty can save you money. So sticking with the hotel chain, that might be a little bit extra. But if you're going to get, you know, the free Wi-Fi and the perks and be comfortable and rested, you know, it may make sense to pay a little bit more for a flight to build status, to get the free check bag. So I would just encourage, you know, cost center managers to see the bigger picture, because I think the big problem in America is a lot of times we go with the very cheapest flight, and cheap is expensive. So, you know, try to think a little bit higher level. But you know, loyalty, especially at the top tiers, can really pay off. And let's be honest, business travel is grueling. It's time away from home. It's exhausting. It's bad for your health. You know, that's so being able to be comfortable and stick with the hotel chain, even if it costs a little bit more, I think benefits the business in the long run.
And then you hit the ground running, you're not tired, you can go like straight to the meeting or whatever. And there are other, you know, businesses. Google has a very generous policy in terms of, you know, money that you save on one trip can be banked at a certain rate towards another trip. You know, there's companies like Upside and Rocket Trip and Travel Perk. You know, what do you make of those? Like, how does that change the optimization? Yeah,
you know, and Upside's really interesting. We just met with them. So they basically give gift cards to business travelers for being flexible, which I think makes sense. I mean, to be honest, when I was on Wall Street, there were times when I would book last minute to get the full fare to automatic upgrade, right? So when business travelers are incentivized to, you know, to travel better if you book last minute, I mean, I think it makes sense if the company can en masse save money by you know, leaving a day early or so. But I mean, Rocket Miles, all those, you know, they're nice little boosts of bonuses whenever you book hotels. But you know, Upside is interesting. I won't really comment on it until I can fully test it, but the concept is interesting.
Yeah, well, and there's also the services that, you know, you book space on a private plane and just, you know, jet up and down to Los Angeles at certain
the Surf Airs
times.
of the world. Yeah, they're interesting.
Yeah, I think you flew them once, right, to Miami, right? Or
I did Blade in New York now. So Blade is a big one. They fly helicopters in the Northeast, and they do a G5 to New York to Miami, which is, I mean, that's bringing the golden age of travel back. It's an amazing experience. It's like $2,000 one way. But you can use points if you've got like Capital One or Arrival Plus miles.
Yeah, and it's for me the packing is always too much. Like I can't, you know, fit my carry-on on the helicopter. But maybe one step at a time.
Life's hard.
I know, right? And you know, this year we've seen a tough year for certain, you know, high value programs. You know, the American devaluations in March, the switch in August that you talked about. We of course have, you know, always breaking news on Citi and their prestige, and, you know, rumors from Chase about everything else. You know, do you think that this is, you know, the decline of the era of the sign-up bonuses? What are you afraid of? What gives you hope?
Sign-up bonuses, absolutely not. I mean, so they come and go. This year we've seen, American Express is actually sending out targeted offers. 250,000 Amex points for the Business Platinum. So that's another tip. Always, as much as I'd like you all to get credit cards through thepointsguy.com, that's our business model. But check your mail. Check your snail mail is still one of the best ways to get offers. So the bonuses are really high. Of course, they're tweaking the value of those points on the back end, and they're coming down. But it's beyond sign-up bonuses, and it's just these super lucrative earning ratios. And what the airlines will give you, the credit card companies will give you on all the top spend. Really focus on maximizing every single dollar, so that it may 2 or 3x points here and there may not seem like much, but on a whole,
it builds up over time.
Yeah. So that's how there are always going to be devaluations, but. But if a card devalues so much, a lot of people are thinking about canceling the Prestige next year when those go into effect. You vote with your wallet. Loyalty goes both ways. So if you're unhappy with the change, change airlines, start banking to different programs.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that people don't really fully appreciate. You want to go where the benefits are the best and vote with the wallet. We had a question from Darren on a Googler here. He was wondering if you have any recommendations for non-traditional ways of earning points and miles beyond credit card churning, beyond manufactured spend. We don't see a lot of manufactured spend on the Points Guy.
Yeah.
Like, what's your
well, the manufactured spend? So for people who don't know, it's a little bit of a gray area. It's where there's a lot of different formats where you can buy things with a credit card. So the main one was in the 2000s, you could buy US gold coins from the Treasury at cost and free shipping. So you'd buy, let's say, $100,000 worth of these coins delivered in trucks to your house. You get 100,000 points and you go straight to the bank and redeposit them. So you just got 100,000 free points for having the hassle to redeem the coin. So manufactured spend, a lot of people now will buy gift cards with a credit card at an office supply store that gives 5x points, and then even sell them on eBay, or you can then actually move them into other formats. The reason we don't, we have almost 3 million monthly unique visitors. We used to talk about Bluebird and stuff back in the day. The problem with the internet, as I'm sure many of you are aware, people don't read, right? So we would say, okay, get this Bluebird card. This is the picture. This is the one. Don't get the Bluebird Visa. And we would get tons of, I got the Bluebird, and well, you got the, so it's complex, and frankly, because we're, all the credit card companies do monitor our site. So for the really nitty-gritty gray area, it's not in anyone's best interest. So people, there's Reddit churning forums that are good for that. Flyer Talk has manufactured spend. So those are the best areas to really go and learn about that.
And it really becomes a question of if it's all worth it. I mean, when you get the miles, the effort to
you have to put a value on your time, right? So if your time is valuable, going around, it can be. You really have to put a lot of it. There is risk involved. I know a lot of people buy gift cards, and then PayPal, for example, there was a big PayPal thing where you could get but all of this borders on money laundering. So a lot of this activity can look like what drug dealers do and go to Walmart and buy a money order and then try to launder it. So even though you really aren't breaking the law, accounts can get frozen. There's a lot of downside to it that for me and for business owners out there, or putting as much so for all of our Google spend and Facebook advertising, we use the Amex Business Gold has 3x on, you can choose one category. So internet advertising and Google counts. So we run all of our social spend on credit cards. In the first 100,000, I'm getting 300,000 Amex points. So to pay 175 or 195 for that card, I'm getting 200,000 extra points than if I put on another card. So I really focus, and you can win at this game by just staying above board and just playing by the rules they set. It's pretty lucrative.
Yeah, keeping it legal is something that's
keeping
always
it legal.
Important. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
using credit cards for jail bonds. That's a good blog post.
Yeah, and then redeeming the points for champagne and the Delta Sky Clubs.
Yes.
But,
sparkling wine. I don't think they have champagne.
Processo.
Not to mince words.
And then we had another question from Janine as well. She was wondering, are you an American million miler? Are such things worth it anymore?
I'm not a million miler, actually. So I think I'm like 700,000. So I actually wasn't. So American used to be able to get million miler status by spending on your credit card. It was the one airline that would. So back in the day, I wasn't big into churning. So I didn't get the 2 million just by spending on my credit card. So I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, which I'll get there in a couple years. But I mean, the million mile status sounds amazing, but it's really the lowest level elite status, which these days the airlines have watered down so much that you basically get the same from a co-brand credit card. So as much as it's a nice pat on the back, and that's another lesson I urge people is I call it the elite status hamster wheel, right? Like so many people, elite status, I'm cool, I'm part of the club. Well, the lower level elite statuses these days have been watered down and benefits ripped apart. You can't even select a premium economy seat on United and Delta now. They're really pulling back. So, yes, it's nice to have some airline elite status, but especially in a town like San Francisco, United Silver status is worth as much as
this bottle of water. Yeah. Well, and even there are so many 1Ks flying like SFO to O'Hare. I mean, executive platinum status doesn't always clear.
Yep.
And to that end as well, I can say I'm proud to say I made executive platinum for the first time this year. So little mini accomplishment.
Halfway through the year too. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of that business class, and we went to Penang, Malaysia for the fun back through Cathay first to Vancouver. It's great this year. Next year, it's still kind of questionable, still up in the air. We're not sure about the spend requirements.
Well, I think the last 2 years we've seen a lot of change. With the U.S. Airways merger settling, all the major mergers have settled now. We're still waiting on Alaska and Virgin, but in general, I think we've gone through a really big period of change. And I think hopefully, maybe I'm just too much of an optimist. I see over the next couple of years where there's not going to be too much drastic change going on. We're still waiting to see with the Marriott Starwood merger.
That's right.
Huge question marks there with how that's going to go down, and that could affect future hotel mergers. But I think in general, I'm looking forward to some stability. I don't think there's going to be major devaluations. Unless you're Delta, which devalues on a weekly basis, and
it's all a mystery there.
It's all a mystery. There's no award charts. So,
and so for those of us that just joined, what are the best fringe benefits to take advantage of besides the Cathay lounges, the cabanas, the salt and pepper squid, anything that people might not normally think of?
No, one of the new lounges, so Amex has Centurion lounges, which they just opened Houston this week. San Francisco is really nice. So these are actually lounges that I think a lot of airline lounges have dropped in quality. So the Amex Platinum's $450. Off the bat, you get a $200 airline fee credit, and it says you can only use it for airline fees, but in reality, you can actually get airline gift cards. So every year, I get 4 $50 AA gift cards. So my $450 a year platinum card all of a sudden cost me $250 for Delta lounge access and unlimited lounge access to these Centurion lounges, which at SFO is wine tasting, 2 free guests. Everything's free. There's no upcharges like cheap other American carriers that charge for premium cheese. So I think, and that's another, I guess, the thing that the points are great, but perks can be even better. So there are credit cards out there, the Citi Prestige. Yes, there's terrible news this week. They're changing next year. You can't get into the AA lounges, but the best benefit still, it's mildly tweaked, but you get the 4th night free of any hotel, basically, including corporate rates. And so that benefit alone is unbelievable. You can get many thousands a year for paying for that benefit. Plus, you also get a $250 airline credit.
Yeah,
so
global entry.
So cheap is expensive is another thing with credit cards. No annual fee cards, frankly, suck. That's not where the value is. So sometimes paying an annual fee, but dig into the benefits.
And percent, 1% back may not always be the best option if you get that in cash versus the value you have for travel.
Yeah, a lot of people come and say, well, I have Capital One card, I'm getting 1 or 2% back, and those cards are fine, and those cards are great for. But think about it, you spend $100,000 and they'll give you $2,000 in travel. You spend $100,000 on a couple other cards to get bonuses, you're going to Asia 3 times in first class. So you can buy 2 economy tickets to Europe, or if you get bonuses on other cards and transfer and get, so the fixed value cards are slow, steady, there's no devaluations, but there's also little upside as well. You're never going to get more than a cent in value for Capital One point, ever. No matter who you are, I can't, so with that stability comes the lack of upside.
Well, and transitioning now to thepointsguy.com, the sort of little media empire that you're building here. The first question I had is, how do you balance some information sharing with deal crashing?
Yeah.
Is the tragedy of the commons inevitable?
No, we used to get a lot of flack for posting deals. In this day and age of social media, deals spread like wildfire. My goal, my take is if it's going to benefit our readers, then that's it. We're going to share it. Now if it's gray area, bending rules, we're probably not going to because our policy is let's just stay above board with everything, and we have ethics that we'd like to stick to. But yeah, in terms of deals, we share it. That's the whole point of the website. That's why we've doubled in size every year, and that's why people come to us and trust us. We don't take freebies from any airlines. We have all of our reviews are paid for by ourselves. So I stick to that, and people, who come into it, and then this is an amazing hobby, whatever you want to call it. It's amazing. Once you're part of the club, like many other things, people want to shut the doors down. Like, but that's not the society we live in. That's, and there will never be doors shut. I mean, yes, there's some secret groups out there for frequent flyers that share deals, and that's great. But in general, we're going to share the information, and I thrive off of now. I mean, I see people every day in airports. I'm 6'7", so I'm easy to spot. And people share stories. All of our emails positive. People whose lives have been changed.
Reader success stories.
Reader success stories of people who got married and their rocky long distance relationship all of a sudden became a lot more doable because they were able to see each other more. So that's what I focus on. Not the naysayers or the trolls.
No the haters. Yeah, no haters. And then if you want to share a little bit more about the sort of business side of things, like is there like a dollar figure of money that circulates through? Like, is the referral bonuses sustainable for bloggers?
Yeah, I mean, the business that we've created is really unique. It's affiliate marketing, right? So almost all of our revenue comes from people who get credit cards on our website. So our model is, we have staff of about 10 now and 20 contributors that we pay, I think, pretty fairly. But the site's free. So, even the app is free. And it costs a lot of money to run this business. We're office in New York. So the affiliate model is great. I mean, our readers, you're going to get the best offer. So it's like if you can give a credit card company $100 or give the points guy that we'll invest in more content that's suited to you, I mean, that's a no-brainer. And that credit card companies in the past, the best we've been given, had issues with is the best offer really being available. I stand by, we offer the best publicly available deal. Yes, sometimes you can go incognito in the checkout process and maybe get a special offer that you can kind of tweak the system. But we can't, in a blog post when we're writing about a deal, we write about the best publicly available offers. So sometimes you can tweak the system to get better, and people will say, but I'm like, we have 3 million readers. I can't, in every blog post we're talking about United, say, well, maybe if some people go through this channel and tweak it this way. So in general, we offer the best deals. And the business is amazing. I'm proud of it, and we're heavily investing in video now. We just relaunched our TVGTV series, which follows me around the world, and it's not just look at me drinking champagne on a plane, which is fun, but it's like tangible. Cut the size down, and it's tangible tricks that you can also share, like how to book Singapore suites in 90 seconds, which released this week. What's the best Hyatt in Tokyo is coming out next week, so we take a look at all 3 of the major Hyatts, points, locations. So we're trying to help consumers make better decisions with their points via video.
Is there anything that people may not fully appreciate about TVGTV? Is it a different experience when you go into the Hyatts with a camera crew, and how do you keep objectivity?
We do have to get permissions to fly, and I actually didn't think the airlines were going to let us film on board, but almost every single airline has allowed us to film on board. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the product is what you want to see. I'm 6'7", so whenever I fly in a product, if I'm comfortable, like chances are you probably will be too. And really, it's not about the flight review as much as how you can actually fly to Africa for $5.60 using Delta miles. It's one of the best ways. Delta miles are really devalued, but to Africa, it's amazing. So they fly JFK to Accra. And Africa is amazing, probably one of my favorite places to visit. So the point of TVGTV on flying Delta to Accra is showing the product. It's a pretty decent business class product. So yeah, I mean, we're tweaking. Video's an interesting beast, and obviously we hear it all, in social media. It's video. We see all of our major news networks now switching to video and Facebook Lives, and so I think we're adapting and we're learning. But I think we've gotten great feedback on the episodes, and it's meant to entertain and educate.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a big education component. So it's not like what's the best dim sum in Hong Kong necessarily. Yeah. Like there's other ways to get that information.
Yeah, so we do have some of those fun, like the robot restaurant and eating blowfish in Osaka, and like
you survived.
And we'll give I survived. Fugu blowfish is actually amazing. I highly recommend it, but only at like the right restaurants. So stay tuned for the TVGTV episode where we tell you the right one to go to in Osaka.
Nice, very cool. So I have some questions about travel life, but if you all in the audience have some questions as well, we'll have a mic that circulates around. So kind of raise your hand. We'll sort of seek you out and toss it your way. So travel life. How do you value the effort behind getting these points? Like, are there diminishing returns? Like, how do you calculate these monthly valuations that you post on TPT?
Yeah, so that we do a monthly valuation where basically it's a ranking of not all points are created equal, right? Some point currencies are much, much more valuable, like Starwood points are the most valuable. And then on the flip side, like Spirit Airlines rewards, like, expire after a week if you don't, punch yourself in the face or. We're going to make them much more scientific. But the thing is, with these, there's billions of permutations of how you can use points, right? Some people would rather go twice in economy, and I've just flew on the Lufthansa or the Qantas first class. It was a $9,000 ticket, and I spent $42, which sounds amazing, but I wasn't going to spend 18 grand to fly because I have millions of miles. So what's the real value? There is no right answer. Some people, but the fact of the matter is that a bunch of other people on that plane did spend $9,000 or at least full fare business and upgraded to sit. So the value of miles is amazing, but we're going to be, trying to put a little bit more technology into the ease of redeeming. But at the end of the day, there's always surveys that come out. The best frequent flyer miles in the world are, and it's like Southwest because you can use it on every flight. I'm like, yeah, but Southwest is pointless if you want to go to Australia or don't want to fly coach domestically. So there's no one right program, but and for me, I mean, it's all on the credit card spend. That's how I make most of my miles. I also do buy a lot of miles. So Alaska Airlines sells points or miles for about 2 cents a pop. So my 70,000 miles that I use for the one-way Qantas first cost me about $1,400. So you can buy miles, and airlines still drastically discount miles to usually around 2 cents a pop. So if you value miles or need to top up, buying miles can still make a lot of sense. But just be warned, when you buy miles, they could devalue at any time, so have a plan of attack when using them and know how to use them. And
even the posting, the delay for posting can be something that you need to worry about with the transferable credit cards. And of course, your work is travel. Travel is your work. How do you, balance your sort of personal life with the jet-setting adventures? And
that's
reviews?
hard. I'm still learning because I actually was sitting on the plane the other day. I'm like, I'm addicted to travel. Like I flew to Auckland for 3 days and then flew in on Tuesday, and we had a 300-person event in LA, and people were like, who's this monster? Like, how do you just keep going? But it's what I love too. I mean. And it's amazing with points, and flying first in business class to Australia for 3 days isn't that big of a deal. I actually wasn't, not hungover. I wasn't jet lagged at all.
That Qantas lounge in LAX, so they got the ice wine. And just saying.
I actually didn't drink at all. I'm writing my first book on points and my story. So
really?
The whole point of this trip was to sequester myself with no Wi-Fi, which Qantas doesn't have, thankfully, and I actually got a ton of writing done on the plane. Wow. So that's actually what I love about travel. It's on the ground. So I'm on Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, constant, employees nagging me all the time.
Yeah.
And actually, just want to raise.
Yeah, we've
got my editorial director
TVGTV
James
here.
Curry here. He manages all of our content. He came from Details magazine. Scott Kidder, who's my COO, came from a site Gawker Media, and Kate, who's my longest-standing employee. I don't even know what she does anymore. She's basically the wizard behind the machine that makes everything run on the site. She knows where all the bodies are buried, so I can't not have her around.
Cool. And
she's also the co-parent of my cute dog Miles,
who unfortunately could not make it today. Google's a dog-friendly place, but next time.
I didn't want to be overshadowed by my adorably cute blue French bulldog. Is the real reason.
As it happens. What would you say your philosophy of travel is? Like when you go to a new destination, how do you approach it? What do you look for?
Unlike some people who are addicted in the travel space, I travel because I do love the destination. I do love being on airplanes, even in the best first class cabin, is still exhausting, tiring on your body. But the world. There's just so many amazing places to see in the world that it's worth it to me. So I travel for the destination. It brings family together. I just took my parents to Africa.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's right.
Using points first class, so they didn't even feel guilty that I spent a ton of money on them. But I'm closer with my parents now because of that trip. The trip was life-changing in so many different ways. So travel changes your life. I think I wish more people would travel and kind of get the world mindset that and it also helps realize, we do have a lot of things amazing here, but there's a lot of things we can change. The blanket statement, America is the best, is not actually true, when you see the world. So.
And it's moving beyond the room service and the hotel restaurant to see what life is like on the ground. So. Cool. Are there audience questions at this time? Any burning questions so far? If not, you can hold them for later. I did have a question on from Angela, in fact. What travel experiences have influenced your future travel destinations and why?
Well, actually, I have a fear of heights, which is kind of funny. Someone actually tweeted me, "Isn't that ironic that you're really tall and afraid of heights?" I've been confronting my fear of heights. I did hot air ballooning in Turkey and Cappadocia. Highly recommend. Maybe wait a little while as things settle down. But actually, Turkey is still a great destination. We had one of our writers there last week. And I think it's kind of fun to travel to conquer your fear. So in Auckland, I jumped off of the
Sky tower.
The sky jump, which was terrifying. And being at the edge, it was pulling me off the edge. And the guy was like, "Put both feet at the edge." And I'm like, "It's pulling me off. Am I unhooked yet?" Like I was panicking, but the 10-second almost free fall was amazing. So now I actually have skydiving on the list, which I never thought I would do. So travel for me, I still like to be pushed out of my comfort zone. My main place that I love visiting is the continent of Africa. It's so unbelievably, it's inspiring, breathtaking. Safari's probably been, I just took my parents on safari in Tanzania. Sabi Sands in Kruger is a great place. Go to South Africa if you guys are looking for travel inspiration. South Africa is incredibly affordable once you get there, and it's everything. Cape Town's a European city on the beach with penguins. You can drive to the Cape of Good Hope. The wine country outside of Cape Town is unbelievably, insanely beautiful wines, and it's so affordable. The dollar is so strong against the rand, and getting there on miles is doable, especially with the Middle Eastern carriers.
And the A380 to Johannesburg now.
Yes. Yeah. So, on Etihad, right?
Yeah. Or Emirates, right?
On Emirates, yeah.
And do you still scuba dive? I saw like the progress of the lessons and haven't seen many posts.
That was a crazy. So I love scuba diving. So the underwater world is more covered in water than it is land. So underwater is unbelievably beautiful. I got scuba certified for a year and a half. I was Great Barrier Reef, Maldives. My favorite dive actually was in the Cayman Islands. It was like a video game. It was a cavern, and we were just going through, and it was an absolute video game of things I've never seen. And I love sharks. They're my favorite animal. And you realize sharks don't give a crap at all about people. This whole fear about sharks is really interesting. But unfortunately, in Maui, I was diving, and the next day felt like there was water in my ear, and ended up going deaf for 9 days.
Really?
Completely deaf in my right ear, which apparently is a freak thing that happens to some people, because I tweeted about it and a couple other people. So they had to they said I may never have my hearing back. I went to 3 different hospitals and they had to put a syringe into my eardrum and pumped it full of steroids, which actually worked. 2 days later, I was at dinner and I heard a crackle, and then it finally came back pretty much 100%. So
that's good to hear.
Not to be a Debbie Downer,
right.
But I will get back in the water one day, but not quite yet.
That's okay.
Are you a diver?
I just got my open water certification at South Beach Divers. There was some article,
the one that I went to.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. So still have to. I have it like on the ready. So like the next time I go to the South Pacific or something, I can just
it's amazing.
hop on in.
I highly recommend it for. Everyone thinks you're going to be claustrophobic and breathing, and you'll get over it, and it's totally worth it. It is very dangerous though, so take it very seriously. I almost died once or twice. So
read the directions. So we're also, one of the things that we're doing here at Google, our Googlers Give team helps us donate our time, money, and effort to various causes, and so we have a badge to donate station for the Points for Peace and the PeaceJam.
Yes.
And so I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about that. How did you get started on that? What's been the sort of rewarding experiences you've seen from it?
PeaceJam. So the business is successful, and finding a charity is kind of hard. Like everyone's like, what's your ultimate passion in charity? And you're like, I'm a giving person, and it's hard to pick a charity that aligns with what you love doing. And I think charity work is just much like your work life, right? So once you really align and figure out what you love doing, you'll succeed much quicker than randomly being placed in a job. So, charity for me for a while was just writing checks to organizations, but I realized that wasn't very fulfilling. A friend came to me one day, was like, I have to talk to you. In college, I was involved with PeaceJam. I think you'll absolutely love it. So PeaceJam is an organization at Meng, the former Jolly Good Fellow of Google, who I've been working with. So he now works with PeaceJam full-time on this Billion Acts of Peace campaign. The whole point is taking the work of Nobel Peace Prize winners, 13 of the most inspiring in the world, Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu, Rigoberto Menchú, taking their teachings, making a curriculum to kids around the world. So Points for Peace was launched this year with the hopes of having people be able to donate their points and miles, their money. You can actually earn points by using your credit card to donate for them. And I think we can all agree the world needs more peace, more so than ever. And as much as we want to put our head in the sand with crazy news stories every day, It's not all terrible. It's so inspiring. There's youth around the world that really wants to make a difference.
Yeah.
And so in Ghana, So through Points for Peace, we're helping in Guatemala, Ghana, South Africa, India, and East Timor. There's these budding movements of kids there who learn all year long the curriculum, and then we bring and use points to bring the Nobels, and they do 2-day jams, the Peace Jam. So I was working with Meng, we're bringing it to Singapore, and it's amazing. I mean, to be able to see these Nobel Peace Prize winners who have been through, you think you've been through a lot. You hear, Rigoberta Menchú, whose whole family was assassinated during the 36-year civil war in Guatemala. And for me, even being able to be around them, I get so much out of it. So we're bringing these Nobels to kids to help them better their communities and hopefully create a whole new generation of nonviolent leaders.
Yeah.
So Points for Peace we just launched, and it's we're working with all the credit card companies and airlines. They all have their own charities, and it's political, but we're making great progress. You can now, Singapore Airlines just did a match. If any of you have Singapore Airlines miles up to 250,000 donated, you can even donate 1,000 of them, they'll match to us. And the airlines are on board with it. So it's our first year, but I foresee us growing it.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I was like, we just got to launch and continue to evolve it.
And there's a spot for readers too to lend their travel expertise,
Yes.
Be volunteer, point maximizers.
So the goal is that people will be able to donate points. Right now, you can donate points. So someone said, I have 20,000 British Airways Avios. We actually use that to fly 2 PeaceJam staffers to Guatemala, because that's the best use of British Airways on short haul flights on American. So we have people who have knowledge on how to use points, and then we have people donating points. So our goal is to just grow it and have these growing pools of points to help, because frankly, the charities really get killed. With the travel is really hard for charities, especially when you're going to the developing world. Just to send one conference staffer to East Timor is like $3,000, but it's only like 70,000 United miles. So we're helping maximize miles for good is the general point of Points for Peace.
Yeah, and you can check that out, at the table in the back, or also on the Points Guy website.
And none of the money actually goes to the point. It all goes to PeaceJam. The Points for Peace is just the initiative. So we're not trying to create a new charity. We're just trying to help charities that already have something amazing going on and to take it to the next level.
All right, cool. So if there's any questions from the audience, feel free to raise your hand. Any news from the Google moderator, Adam?
So you talked a bunch about how getting credit cards with the sign-up bonuses and the spend can give you a lot of miles. And we have a couple of Googlers here who wanted to know a bit more about how do you personally keep track of your credit cards, and along with that, the points. You have a certain spend by a certain amount of time, and so on.
So I want to be clear too, with the credit card, getting credit cards, you have to be on your game, right? You need to pay attention. One missed payment, granted you can usually get them, ask for forgiveness, but it can be very complex. So I have 26 credit cards. Points.com, Award Wallet, they're great ways to kind of track. Our app, the TPG2Go, will actually, you can tell us what credit cards you have, and we'll actually tell you when your annual fee's coming up and make sure if any points are going to expire. But frankly, I have a spreadsheet, kind of old-fashioned, and Kate here, who's probably giggling. Luckily, I have a full, Kate's not my assistant anymore, but I have people who help me track, because it is a lot of time. And of course, I'm over the top because I need to test out every credit card and whatnot. So yeah, and with applying for credit cards, there is a small 2 to 5 point, temporary ding on your credit. But people think it's, you hear the Susie Ormans of the world that are like, pay cash for everything, and credit cards the devil. And I understand a lot of Americans are in debt. And the goal is, if you're carrying balances, do not get miles and points credit cards. Focus first and foremost on getting debt free. Because if you're carrying balances, the crazy APRs, even on the best credit cards, are going to negate the value of those points. So the number one goal should be to get debt free and get to a place where you can put everything on a credit card but pay it off in full every month, so you avoid, that's winning the game. So there are a lot of credit cards that will, if you have a balance, you can focus on neutralizing that debt before getting into it. But it still does take a bunch of time. There's no one perfect app or software out there that will do it for you.
Cool.
What are your thoughts on some of the rumored new credit cards coming out from Chase Sapphire, Reserved, and things like that? Is that worth waiting out for, especially if you're close to that 524 rule?
Yeah. So there's a rumor. I've actually asked Chase for confirmation on the exact details, but there's a rumor that Chase Sapphire Preferred is my favorite card. If you're looking to get a credit card, it's just a no-brainer. The fees waived the first year, you get 50,000 points. You cannot lose getting that card, right? And you get double points on travel and dining. So there's rumors of an even better card coming out next month, which makes sense, right? You would think Citi's got a $450 card, Chase has, Amex has a $450. So for Chase to compete for top-tier consumers, it makes complete sense. So the card sounds amazing. Going back to the 524 rule where Chase is really clamping down, I'd probably, and that's the thing about this game is that don't go too much too soon, right? If you're new to this, you can get a ton of bonuses, but there's spend requirements. There is an impact on your credit. The credit card companies are becoming more savvy. If you open and close, and you're poking them in the eye, don't make yourself a bad customer, right? Because you can get banned from banks. Now, in general, you won't, but be a good customer, right? Go slow and steady and get your, have a checking account with Chase, right? Like throw them a couple bones so on whole you're a good customer and they keep doing these things. But yeah, and in general, you used to be able to get credit cards, the same card bunches of different times. There's still some credit card companies that will let you get the same card over and over again. But yeah, they are becoming smarter. I would take that approach. And if you hear a rumor of an amazing card coming out soon, and if it seems like a founded rumor, wait and see. You got to think big picture, right?
It's always another deal.
It's always another deal, but all good deals come to an end, right? So the more you wait, there is an opportunity cost to waiting on that. So.
All right, we had a question in the back there, and then we'll grab one here on the right.
There's actually a question from Ryan in our LAX Google office. Saver Award versus Standard Fare Award. What's the best time to buy Saver Awards? 6 months out, 2 weeks out? What's the breakdown for that?
So Saver Awards are awards at the very lowest level, right? So the goal is to always fly in Saver Awards. Why give them more miles than possible? So the problem is that the airlines are holding them back longer and longer to departure because shockingly, airlines are, in the U.S., publicly traded companies that want to maximize profit. They want to offer Saver Awards so they can advertise it, but for every single person all the time, they want you to spend more. So this is going back to the flexibility thing. If you're risk averse, I would say book a standard award. I actually just booked one. I'm going to Europe. I want to fly in the nonstop Rome flight, Rome to New York on a certain day that I have to be home for a big meeting the next day. So I booked, I have an AA elite status, so I booked 135,000 miles AA one way. So $4,000 ticket to buy. I don't want to connect randomly in Dusseldorf for 12 hours. So I have that 135K standard award waiting, but I can change it unlimited times for free because I'm elite. And even if you're not elite, AA, if they do open up a Saver Award, which you can set an expert flyer alert, you can pay, $150 and get, 57.5, 80,000 miles back or whatever. So and the same goes, if you fly Southwest, keep monitoring to make sure that the price doesn't drop because all you do is call and you get a free credit in your account when it drops. There's actually at our app launch the other night, a new company called Earny, EARNY, which is an app that'll consistently check if you have purchase protection and you purchase items, it'll keep checking for price drop, for hotels. So it's a really fascinating. I haven't checked it out myself yet, but but you can save tons of money and miles by staying on it. And the week of departure, airlines release tons and tons of Saver level awards. So even if you're booked on an American a U.S. carrier, and their partner opens up, almost always I'd say go with Asian carriers or even the European carriers beat the U.S. carriers. Not in all cases, but.
For starters, if I'm not very spontaneous or last-minute traveler, I want things planned before. How do I actually get in, get some hope of accumulating points or? Well,
you can still plan ahead. I would just say be flexible if you have time, or be flexible on your destination, or you can still plan in advance and find it's not all last minute, right? For last minute, there are to the winner goes the spoils is amazing, but you can still definitely plan in advance and find Saver Awards. But if you are a little bit, the more flexible you are, the greater the reward.
So here at Google, fortunately, Google pays for almost everything except for rent for us. So we may or may not have $4,000 of expenses in 3 months to meet a sign-up bonus. And you said you're not a huge fan of manufacturing spending. So how would you suggest that someone without a lot of expenses gets a sign-up bonus?
Yeah, there are ways, even sometimes it may make sense. So you can pay rent most landlords will charge a fee. So it may make sense to hit a sign-up bonus to spend $3,000 to pay
Taxes.
or even pay your taxes at 1.9%. To pay a little bit to get the huge sign-up bonus can make sense. So as much as manufacturer expensive about getting it for free, don't give cash gifts for weddings. Use your Amex and buy an Amex gift card. There might be the $5.95 fee, or give gift cards. Your nieces, instead of giving them cash, buy a Bed Bath & Beyond gift card at an office supply store or a supermarket. So there are ways. But at the end of the day, you do have to spend in order to get the bonuses, but it may not be completely free. But WeWork where at WeWork I was paying rent directly, and then one day I was like, well, let me just use a credit card. WeWork takes credit card with no fee. So now $9,000 a month I have. So a lot of times it's just, once again, poking around and pushing the status quo, and it never hurts to ask.
All right, so I wanted to wrap up with a few sort of rapid fire questions. We got some favorites and failures that you may have experienced in your travels. So the first one, most intriguing airline or hotel you have yet to experience?
Well, intriguing yet to experience.
Well, you probably haven't flown Saudi yet, or
I won't
some
because
fancy hotel.
Because it's a dry airline and they don't like gay people. Nothing against Saudi Arabia. It's just the truth. Where do I want to try? Oh, that's a good question. I like flying wonky carriers. Like I've flown Mauritius Air and Seychelles Air. I've actually never flown Turkish Airlines. I hear they've got a good product.
Nice.
Good food.
And a good lounge in Istanbul when things settle down a little bit.
Yeah.
Without considering any possible points that you'd earn from the trip or points that you'd redeem to go on the trip, which destination stands out the most on its own right?
So South Africa, hands down, is just my favorite all-around destination. And I love Spain as far as Europe goes. Beautiful, fun, inexpensive.
That's where your correspondent is, Lori, right?
That's international correspondent, Lori Zano.
Yeah. So what's the worst use of points that either you've had to do yourself or that people have that people wouldn't normally think?
So when I worked on Wall Street, funny enough, I was points rich and cash poor. So I use a bunch of Delta miles. You used to be able to use them for half a cent a point for gift cards. So I was buying gift cards to buy Christmas gifts because to me at that point I didn't need another trip to the Seychelles. I needed to, get gifts for people, and I had no money. I was really broke. So merchandise is generally not a great use of points, but another tenet is if points make you happy and serves a need right now, then do it, right?
If you need that magazine subscription, get the magazine subscription. So rounding the corner here, the most surprising difference between expectation and reality. So something you thought was amazing, not so much, or something not so much that was amazing.
When I flew the Etihad residents, I actually paid $33,000 to fly on a one-way flight from JFK to Abu Dhabi. They ended up losing my bag, my carry-on bag. They left it in the lounge in New York and didn't even know. So when I landed, they were like, waited an hour and a half, and they were like, oh yeah, we left it in JFK. I'm like, whatever happened if you see something, say something? How did no one at the lounge
evacuate the terminal?
And so the residence experience was cool. You have your own bedroom and bathroom, but it was nowhere near worth $33,000. Although from a business expense, it had paid off because we got over 1 million views from that video. And people in the airport, there was actually a concession worker goes, "You're that guy who paid $33,000." So for the price of airport fame, it was worth it.
Yeah. Otherwise, stick to the apartment. You'll be
the
just
apartment
fine.
Using AA miles.
So most extreme points optimization that you've ever done?
I think one of the best is, so Marriott has cash and points. So my parents are retired. My parents have done so much for me. So I actually did a Marriott cash and points where I got a week at the JW Cannes, and I was there over the Cannes Film Festival. It was $2,000 a night at a beautiful room. And my dad has the same name as me, so I transferred the miles portion into his name, so he got 120,000 Southwest and the companion pass for 2 years. So him and my mom have been maximizing that, and they had the points. So it was amazing. But, once again, people think Marriott points aren't worth that much, but when you can get the Southwest companion ticket and 7 nights at a JW for a total of 300,000 or whatever
money
it was.
well spent.
I blogged about it. You can just Google the points guy JW Cannes companion pass.
Cool. And then the last question, what do you hope to accomplish by this time next year?
By this time next year, I think that figuring out the charity angle for me is amazing, and to do more. We're actually going to expand PeaceJam in West Africa. If there's one region of the world I think that needs some focus on education, so I'm actually going with Lema Bowie to Liberia to do more education there. So expanding that in West Africa, I think, would be a big win for me. And just, we're growing the team. We're hiring a head of social media. Just continuing to and having fun at what we're doing.
All right. Well, and of course there is the book coming out, so perhaps an author's at Google in the future.
I wish I could promote it, but it's still like 18 months out. So.
All right. So I wanted to thank you all for tuning in. You can visit Brian at thepointsguy.com, at thepointsguy, Instagram, Facebook, the whole deal. And we look forward to seeing where you travel next. I believe you have a flight to catch.
I do have a flight to catch, and I just want to say thank you to Google. I mean, Google is the reason why the Points Guy blew up in the way that it did. Organically, a friend set me up SEO. I never knew what that was when I started blogging 6 years ago last month. But Google has really changed my life. So it's a pleasure for me to be here. And I do have a flight to catch, but I have a little bit of time. So if you want to come say hi, if you're a reader, I would be happy to meet you all.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much, Brian. Thanks for speaking. Awesome.